Hey, what's going on, everybody? I just thought this would be a cool way to introduce the my channel, introduce into what I'm kind of going through. It's kind of a misnomer because this isn't really the intro video. That's going to be the one after this. But I thought this was a good way to lead in to kind of give you a perspective of um, how who I am as a person in terms of a temperament slash personality, and it's kind of funny. Um, so I went to one of my business conferences in early January, and people were speaking about these temperaments: sanguine, choleric, and so on and so forth. And I was like, "What the heck are you guys talking about? This is the language I have no idea about." Or these words I've never heard of before. And as I was talking to some people, there was one specifically that said, "You know what? You're a mixture of two of these temperaments, but I'm going to leave it up to you to figure it out." And because of all the mentioning of this book and the talking of these different temperaments, it got me really interested in this book. So it was literally the next one I read. But it's this one right here, Personality Plus by Florence Littauer, I want to say is how you pronounce it, her name. Anyway, so just to give you a little bit of a kind of a, a kind of cool way to introduce the temperaments. So you're not gonna get anything out of me that's at all sanguine. You're gonna get a little bit of a melancholic out of me. Definitely no way am I choleric whatsoever, but I am definitely plenty phlegmatic. Now, the book itself is written by a sanguine who is um, married to a melancholy. He's also somewhat of a phlegmatic. So the by her being the sanguine, it's actually extremely funny the way she gives you interpretations of these temperaments. And as I read through it, at least, I was chuckling to myself because I could sense myself in how she described these temperaments, as well as like as I was reading it, I was imagining friends that fit these temperament um, descriptions and whatnot. So just to get into it a little bit, the sanguines are kind of like your bubbly people, the ones that are the center of attention, those that put themselves out there. They're the very outgoing people. The melancholies are more of the analytical people, and in a sense, they kind of have a little bit of a downward way of looking at something. They express negativity in a way, but they do have their highs and their lows, but they're to the extremes and they're very far spaced out. And then you have the cholerics who are very direct. They know what they want. Their way is the only way to do something, and when they say they want something done, they want it done their way and no other. They're very direct. They are the ones that typically are the leaders, but they can come out to be bossy or arrogant in a way, but they don't intend to be. And then your phlegmatics are kind of, I fit with a phlegmatic very well. You won't see, other than probably some of these videos, as I get more and more comfortable with this YouTube thing, you'll see me become more of a little bit more of a sanguine in a way. But I'm very phlegmatic. I don't show my emotions very well. I'm kind of flat and unemotional, like just kind of, a straight line, flat line, if you want to call it that. In a way, my tone can be kind of boring to me anyway, but I tried to change it up. I tried to add emphasis to my voice and all that, but that's just kind of a run through. And of course, there's always those people that are kind of mixtures. So for me, I'm a mixture of like the melancholy and a phlegmatic, whereas you can be a sanguine and a choleric at the same time. And then there's a whole bunch of other mixtures in between that she describes in the book. A lot funnier than I ever could, just because she's been studying it for much of her life. But it's just kind of funny to see how how these different temperaments interact. And little do you know that typically you end up being, or some people that she's mentioned, end up being with the complete opposite person of what they are. So a sanguine ends up being with a melancholy. So you can imagine the confusion that there is there with the sanguine being upbeat and like hyper excited, and then the melancholy just being like, can you please like settle down, or why are you being so emotional over this? How can you be excited? But I would definitely recommend reading it after I've read it. I've noticed being able to talk to people a lot easier just because I can, it takes a few minutes, maybe a few seconds even, to get to like kind of assess who the person is. There's my melancholy coming out, but you get to kind of assess through their body language and how they talk, what kind of temperament a person has. And once you identify that, it's a lot easier to interact with them, because you'll know how to, and sorry about that freaking fire alarm, but you'll learn how to interact with them and effectively as such. But this is kind of the intro video just to give you an idea of who I will be until I become comfortable with this whole thing. It's a growing process, which I'll explain later with what my channel is going to be covering. But I just wanted to start this channel off with this book before the intro video so that you guys have an idea. And if I would highly recommend reading it, just because it's extremely informative and funny, but also allows you to appreciate how some people communicate and express themselves just a little bit easier.